anytime between now and the next 2 weeks exactly from today, little baby Lydia Denise Wilson will be here. And a couple days ago, this hit me like a ton of bricks. Not like I've had 9 months to really think about it. But there's going to be a complete, brand new human and soul out here. And she's my responsibility. Talk about humbling. And I know that all of you out there who are parents are like, yeah, welcome to the club, been there, done that. But as I've been reflecting on this, I realize that there's one very important lesson that I want to impart to her that I feel a lot of us struggle with our whole lives, especially Christians. Do not be a doormat. Now, this may sound easy on the surface, but let's be honest. We serve a God of love and mercy, and we are called to be the same. And that line between are we being godly or are we enabling blurs right fast, especially if it has to deal with someone that we love very deeply. Matthew 5:38 and 39 says, "You have heard the law that says punishment must match the injury, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say, do not resist an evil person. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, offer the other cheek also." In Matthew 18:21 and 22, it says, "Then Peter came to him and asked, 'Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times?' 'No, not 7 times,' Jesus replied, 'but 70 times 7. I used to follow these scriptures in such a wrong way. To me, it used to say, be loving and kind no matter how many times you get hurt, and in fact, continue to go the extra mile every single time. I mean, does it mean that? To an extent. But you know what scripture also says? Matthew 7:6. Don't waste what is holy on people who are unholy. Don't throw your pearls to pigs. They will trample the pearls, then turn and attack you. Matthew 10:14. If any household or town refuses to welcome you or listen to your message, shake its dust from your feet as you leave. Matthew 10:16. Look, I am sending you as sheep among the wolves. So be as shrewd as snakes and harmless as doves. Or gentle, as some translations say. Now, this may look and sound very conflicting if you look at it from an either-or perspective, which I feel a lot of us do unintentionally, where we look at it as either you're as gentle as a dove all the time and let people do whatever they want with a smile on your face as you constantly turn that other cheek, or you're as shrewd as a serpent and pick and choose who you deal with and who you're kind to. And that is not how it's supposed to work. It's about being as gentle as a dove with all people, showing love and mercy, but being shrewd as a serpent and using common sense to know when you're being bullied, when you're being dragged down, or you're being taken advantage of, then shaking the dust off your feet and walking away. This is whether it's a stranger or a friend or even a family member. And this is where it gets even trickier because absolutely nothing about this life is easy. Absolutely nothing about the Christian walk is easy. It's not supposed to be. We think that we have to be as mean as a snake when we do this, when we walk away, but we don't. You can cut ties with a relationship that is harmful without being ugly about it. It doesn't mean that the other person's not going to get ugly, which further means you don't have to become ugly about it. Either, no matter what they say or do, and people will try to bait you. They'll bring up stuff, oh, I did this and this and this and this and this for you, and you've done this and this and this against me. We're talking about like 10 years of disagreements getting brought up, and you know what? If it's on the phone, there's a hang up button. If it's face to face, you can turn and walk away. You don't have to stand there and take it. You don't have to stand there and return volley either. As much as it hurts and as painful as those things that are said in anger are to hear, you can walk away. You should walk away. In fact, that is turning the other cheek, saying, yes, I acknowledge what you're saying, but I don't need to hear it and turning away and just let them alone with what they're feeling. It's turning the cheek in another sense, if you will. I read, it was a while ago, so hopefully we'll remember them correctly because I couldn't find them, but there was a Twitter trend going around where people were sharing unique stories about their moms and their dads, things that they were excited to pass on to their kids. And one girl shared about how her mom always drove it into her head that no matter what, she was never stuck. If she was ever somewhere where she felt uncomfortable, she was allowed to text her mom and say, "Come get me." No explanation, no nothing, text or call. And the girl told a story about how she was in a sleepover and it was for a friend's birthday party. And for some reason that I can't explain, either could the girl. Girls out there, you know, when we're small, we're catty and it just happens. But all the girls kind of turned on her and started making fun of her. And she ended up asking the girl's mom if she could call her mom to come get her. And the girl's mom begged her not to. This is her birthday. You shouldn't be doing this. And the girl kept insisting, "No, I want to go home." And so the girl's mom called the other mom and said, "I'm so sorry. I've tried to get her to stay. Nothing real bad is happening. I don't understand." And the mom said, "This doesn't bother me. You could call me at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I'm still going to come get my kid if she's not comfortable." She didn't shame her. She didn't ask questions. But of course, the girl felt comfortable enough in her relationship with her mom. She told her what was going on. And she said it was so freeing to know that she didn't have to be stuck. That just because, yeah, that girl was her friend, she didn't have to give her a pass because they're friends and it was her birthday to be mean to her. And that sounds so simple and so childish, but how many times have we been stuck in a situation where we're just sitting there and taking it when someone is being maybe not even outright mean, but subtly, and they're saying things that maybe no one else gets but you do? Come on, we've all been in those situations and have known those type of people to some extent. And then there was another situation where a girl shared about her dad. It was very similar, but all she would have to text him was an ex to come get her. And she was at a party that wasn't supposed to have alcohol or drugs or anything in it, and it turned very wild very quickly. And she texted her dad an ex, and a friend looked over her shoulder and she's like, "Oh, what's that mean?" And she said, "Oh, I accidentally did it. I don't know." And then a few minutes later, her dad was there, no questions asked, picked her up. She didn't have to feel stuck. I mean, think about it. And this just hit me. How many people have felt like they've had to give in to the peer pressure to stay because it's their friends or it's someone that they love and care about, and they're like, "I'm just going to make these concessions to make them happy." First, it's, "I'm going to stay where I'm uncomfortable." Then it's drinking a little bit or trying this drug or doing this thing. And the next thing you know, and I'm not saying this happens all the time, but maybe more often than we think, this is where addiction stems from, because you just want to be polite or you want to be loved or you want to be accepted. I mean, I think about how many times I've allowed myself to be in situations where I've been uncomfortable or I've been used, and I don't do or haven't done or said anything because I wanted to be polite and be the good Christian girl that I was raised to be. How many of us can relate to that? Making these concessions because that's what we're supposed to do, but no, we are not. Ephesians chapter 6 verses 11 to 13 says, "Put on all of God's armor so that you will be able to stand firm against all strategies of the devil. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. Therefore, put on every piece of God's armor, so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. Then, after the battle, you will be standing firm." And let me tell you, it is absolutely impossible to stand firm if you keep letting people push you to the ground and walk all over you. It is, however, very possible to still love and forgive someone but keep your distance. If you are not safe, if your relationship with someone else is causing your relationship with God to suffer, to where you're starting to become apathetic and you're not sure what you believe anymore, if you're not able to take care of yourself or your family like you should, all because you're pouring into someone else who only shows you glimpses of change so you'll keep doing what you're doing for them. I don't care if it's your best friend of 30 years, your mom, your sibling, your adult child. As much as it hurts, it's time to love and forgive and pray at a distance. And this doesn't mean that that distance has to be forever either. Hear me. We really need to stop thinking in terms so absolutely final. And that sounds very contradictory as well. But I'm talking about, let's use your common sense. You know, if you're a Christian, that with God all things are possible. So think about this. You allowing yourself to be a doormat could be the very thing preventing the breakthrough that God has been trying to facilitate, the very breakthrough that you've been praying for. You finally distancing yourself and standing firm could be that deciding factor. Maybe not immediately. It could take months or years even. And yes, maybe not ever. There is a possibility that distance could be forever, because there are some people that never hit their rock bottom, that never hit a point that's like, okay, I need to change. And that's sad. But it's still possible where they will finally see their need for change, their need for the Lord. Matthew 7:17-20 says, "A good tree produces good fruit. A bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire." Yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so you can identify people by their actions. God has even given us a guide to truly know when the time for distance is over. When the evidence of change is truly there, and I'm not talking about the kind of change you have to squint your eyes and turn your head slightly to the left and just see it in the correct lighting to be able to see a change because you're so desperate to have that change occur either. I mean solid evidence of real repentance and change. What a sweet, wonderful reunion. And what a healthy, strong relationship can grow and thrive now. But that also doesn't mean you throw away your common sense either. Because speaking from experience, some people are excellent actors, miss their calling, if you will, should be out making movies. You should always still keep that shrewdness about you. To recognize the signs, because you know them. If you have been in a relationship where you have been a doormat, where you have been used, where you've been drugged down, you know the person. You can see the signs. That doesn't mean you have to, go and cut them off again, but talk to them. Open communication. Hey, I'm seeing some warning signs. Are you okay? What's going on? Do you need help? Maybe they're just starting to backslide a bit, need some encouragement, need some support. Maybe they've been faking the whole time and you're about ready to find them out, and it's good to know now to get back, like, I love you, I forgive you, but it's time for me to back off. I'm going to keep praying for you. I am so thankful to serve a God who continually opens my eyes to His Word, which is alive and relevant at all times. I have spent way too much of my life being a doormat, and that is not the kind of example I want to set for my daughter. That is not the kind of lesson that I want to teach her. I want to infuse her with all the kindness, humbling confidence that I possibly can, to where she can recognize when something is dangerous, that she can recognize, I don't need to put up with this, but approach it in a way that comes from love and mercy and kindness. Has anyone else been there where you've just been a doormat for too long? Are you there now? Well, it's time to stand firm. It's time to keep that gentleness, not to lose it. And that is tough, especially after you've been hurt time and time and time again and taken advantage of, especially the closer that person is related to you, the longer you've known them, the deeper you love them, the harder it is to keep that gentleness. But you must keep that gentleness. But mix in more of that shrewdness into your personage, because it is time to stop being a doormat.